and welcome to Insight. Good evening, and welcome to Insight 2.0. And today we will be discussing designing. We've got some amazing, very talented speakers out here. We've got Dhruvi Gupta. Now, Dhruvi Gupta will be completing her BFA in graphic design in May 2022 from KU, United States. Her past experiences include work at VMLY&R, New York, Wix.com, Whiskey Design, and Native Digital. She recently won 4 trophies at American Advertising Awards, ADDYS, along with her other achievements like KCAF Women in Design winner, Laura Miller Scholarship winner, Helen Brainerd Scholarship winner, 2 print magazine features, and the International Excellence Award. Hello, Dhruvi, welcome. We're really glad that you're here with us. Along with Dhruvi Gupta, we've got Manas Prabhu. Now, he's a third-year interaction design student at Anand National University. Despite of being a student, he's been working as a designer for over 6 years now. He also managed to attain a full scholarship at his college and always strives for excellence. He is an avid sports fan, and you can find him watching football or F1 on weekends. He looks forward to discussing the various facets of design as a career choice and why it is one of the most interesting fields ever. Welcome, guys. Now, Manas, I would like you to, tell us something about design and, just start off the webinar in a very good note. On to you, Manas.
Okay, thanks a lot, Arya. Good evening, everybody. So a few ground rules before we go along is that we are open to questions, but however, let's leave the questions to us a little later in the in this webinar. Dhruvi and I, both of us, will be presenting our journeys and our own explorations as designers and design students and how we have gone through it. And after that, we'll come to the part where you can ask your questions. Obviously, we have taken note of the questions you have put on the groups for us, and those will be included as well. And later on, when we are reaching to the phase where we'll be asking questions, you can simply raise your hands and we'll send you a request to unmute yourself, upon which you can unmute and ask your questions and we can answer them. Now, to talk about designing, obviously, this is something that we're going to be discussing throughout today's webinar. And it is something that we will touch upon in our presentations as well. However, what I feel is that just to give you a brief of what I think designing is, design is in 2 ways you can look at it. One is design is more of an ideology. Design is something that we as human beings have been doing for a really long time. When you look at it, design is about problem solving at the core of it all. And since start of what made us humans, since start of how humanity has existed, we have been solving problems one after the other. And as we solve problems, new things come up, new problems come up, and new solutions come up. And that's what design is. This is obviously a broad perspective. This is more of design as an ideology. However, from a more realistic or a more career-oriented perspective, design is a beautiful career, I feel, because it is one of the most free careers out there. It gives you a lot of freedom, along with, obviously, it has its own restrictions. It gives you a lot of freedom to explore, to find your own groove, find your own path into it. And there are obviously a lot of specialization that we'll be talking about, and the specialization that Dhruvi has taken or I have taken will obviously feature or like slightly take a center for center stage towards the discussions. But overall, we'll try and keep it neutral. And if you are looking for pursuing a career in design in any other field, do ask us, because when you are studying design, you do not study design in like my faculties like to say, you do not study design in a silo, wherein you do not study design as an isolated system, and you study design as a broad general perspective, and you learn a lot of the other things of other disciplines on your course as studying about design. So do feel free to ask us any questions. Yeah, so that's, I think, a brief overview that I'd like to give, and back to you, Arya.
Thank you so much, Manas, for that. Moving on, Dhruvi has a few slides that she would want to share. Onto you, Dhruvi. Just a minute, I'll stop sharing.
Okay, awesome. First of all, hello, everyone. I don't want to feel like a professor, but like really appreciate it if, I can have a couple of cameras on so that at least I know that I'm talking to humans and not bots. And it's fine. It's an evening. Everyone's in pajamas. It's all cool. No one's judging. So giving you guys a minute, turn cameras on, do this for us so that we feel like we're actually talking to people. And we make this a little more interactive. Arya, thank you. First one. Come on, volunteers. I see a couple of names, but I don't think I know anyone here. I might know someone because of their sibling or if someone was in my batch, but I don't know anyone. Hey, I'm not going to start till you turn it on. Legit. I will not start. Camera's on. I'm waiting. Yay. Awesome. Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Awesome. I will share my screen now. Can you guys see the first slide?
Yes, we can.
Okay, awesome. So hi everyone. My name is Ruby. As they introduced me, I am currently a design student at KU. KU is the University of Kansas in the United States, and I came here in 2018. I am a graphic designer, so most of my work includes print media, digital media, a lot of UX too, because I am a UX and motion designer too. And UI UX is basically user interface and user experience design, which is the name for anything that is on a digital platform. So a mobile app, a website, anything like that. And motion is, moving things, moving parts and animation and all of that stuff. So those are my three main strong points, I would say. And that's something that I would talk to you guys about. A little to show you guys what my design looks like. And so basically, there is print media, which is a lot of packaging. There's a lot of posters, there's a lot of publication, all of those things that you can see over here. There's obviously more, but this is something that's the usual. Then there's UI UX that I spoke about. That's app design, website design, interface, all of that, to give you a basic idea. Now, my philosophy is that I think that people understand and learn more if they learn through someone else's experience. And so I'm going to share my journey, my experience from school, from 𝐴𝐚𝐿 to where I've reached now. And I will stop at every point and I'll let you know what the options were, what were the options I took, so that you guys can know a basic timeline. And whoever, I'm guessing people are at different phases of life. Someone's in the 8th grade, someone's in the 10th grade, someone's doing the 12th, so you will be able to consider that part of the journey and be able to see what you need to do next. So the first one was 𝐴𝐚𝐿. I graduated in 2015 and I did my intermediate and elementary exam before that. So these are two exams that usually people do who are interested in drawing, and there must be a lot of still life and a lot of nature drawing and all of those things. I had art as my 5th subject, but you need to understand is that no subject is a mandatory. Any subject, anything that you choose is okay for you to go into design till the 10th and the 12th grade. You can even take science, commerce, arts, whatever. That's your choice and it's going to be okay. I would suggest to try everything because this is your time to actually choose your career. And so you need to basically see what you like, what you're interested in. And so it makes sense to try everything. Only then you will know what you really like. The next part is 11th and 12th. So 11th and 12th is when you're applying for colleges, you're prepping for your entrances. If you want to go into a design school, then you're probably going to give one of the entrance exams, like be it NID, UC, SHISTI, NIFT. Some colleges have their own entrance exam. So you need to be prepping in the 11th and 12th grade for that. I personally had, a medical prep too, and that was because, there was another option of me going into dentistry. Obviously, that didn't happen, and I am glad. But that was something that, you can also have, where you have another career also on the back burner on the side that you are totally preparing together. And I'm telling you, it's doable. You can also do 3, but right now, I think 2 options is a good number for you to be able to do things, but also be on top of things. Then we had Shrishti. So I got into Shrishti in 2017, and I cleared. Shrishti has its specific design engines. And so I prepared for all of them. The prep is all the same for all of them, but they have a little bit, different things, different elements here and there that you can find out on the college websites itself. You can also find out the colleges that you are interested in by just Googling design colleges in India. It's that simple. Just Google that. You'll get a huge list of all the colleges that you can go for different fields. My field was graphic design, but I know that Shrishti has graphic design, industrial design, space design, environmental design. There are a lot of different options. You can choose according to what you like. This time is also when you prepare your portfolio. So you will need a portfolio to apply to colleges. You will also need a portfolio to talk in the college interviews. Some colleges do interviews where you would have to talk about what you like, what your interests are, and what you've made. I will give you one small tip. The basic reason of an interview is to just find out that that's the work that you did and is not copied from someone else. Because if you can talk about your work, that means you made it. Then came self-motivation and being proactive. So everyone in the design field, ye likh ke le lo. This is something that you need to know is no one's going to tell you what to do. No one's going to push you to work harder. And no one's going to tell you, this is your class, this is what you need to do, this is your homework, blah, blah, blah. You need to figure a lot of things on your own, and you need to be proactive, and you need to learn your own skills. You need to build skills, and you need to build skills. YouTube is guru. Go on YouTube, try to find everything. You will literally find everything. There are so many resources. I'll give you a basic idea of the softwares that you need to have for different places. So if you're doing photography, if you see on this chart, there's Lightroom and Photoshop, which is, softwares you need to know. There's for architecture, there's Autodesk, SketchUp, Photoshop. Fashion, there's Illustrator, Photoshop, and then CorelDRAW. There are graphic design, there's a lot more than that, but the basic ones is Illustrator, Photoshop, and design. UI UX, there's Illustrator, Adobe XD, Figma, Sketch. You don't need to know all of them, but these are the softwares that people usually learn and use. And then motion design, there's Illustrator, Premiere Pro, After Effects, Dimension. If you want Dimension, then yeah, that's an option. But these are a couple of skills. I'm assuming that people who want to go and design have sort of an idea about sketching, at least, like minimum. Like you need to be able to draw a pen, a flower, a mango, something, just to be able to show people what your idea is, and for them to know what you're trying to say, what you're trying to think. So next was applying abroad. So this is not something that everyone wants to do, but this is something that I wanted to do because I wanted to go to the next level. I did 1 year at Shrishti, and I felt like I wanted to go bigger. I wanted to go to a different place. And more than that, it was about independence. When you shift to a different country, you're living alone, there's a lot of things that you would want to do that you wouldn't be able to do back in India. Living alone also teaches you a lot of things. Right now, I'm paying my rent, my electricity bill, my gas bill, my water bill, my trash bill, my, shopping, food, blah, 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 everything. So there are a lot of things that you will, learn. And if you want to do it, I would definitely recommend doing it, is to go abroad if you can. One myth I want to break about studies in abroad is that it's expensive. If you're not smart, it's going to be expensive. If you're not proactive, it's going to be expensive. If you don't want to do the hard work of researching, it's going to be expensive. But if you want to do all of that, then it's not going to be expensive. My education right now is costing me less than I would have paid in Shrishti because of all the scholarships that I've gotten so far. And so you just need to show up your work and you just need to apply to scholarships. I won't say it's easy to get scholarships, but it's not impossible. It's a good medium to get it, and you can definitely get it. I have friends who've gotten full tuition scholarships. They pay free tuition, nothing, literally nothing. Everything is included. The scholarship is even paying for their housing and their food. So if you look into it, there are options and you can get it done in free. So next that you have is visa options. When you go abroad, it's not your own country. So you need to figure out how to stay there. Most of us, and I'm talking by experience, most of us go to abroad because you want to settle. You want to be able to do a job after you graduate. So there are a couple of visa options that you need to figure out. There's an H1B, there's an F1, there's a J1. There are multiple different ones. You need to figure out what works for you, and you need to figure out how feasible it is for you. You won't be able to just, ha, bhai, bet lo, Trump is my chacha. Not going to happen. You will have to be there and you will have to work to stay there. So it's going to be difficult, but you can do it. It's definitely doable. I'm not some great human being. I'm also someone who is in school, Gudecha, played Govind sir, killed me, whatever. But it was all great. And you can still do it. Next was KU. So I came to the United States. I got into KU. KU, I wouldn't call it a top tier college. KU is a very average college, but I did it because I felt like the design course was good. It's a big university, so all the courses are offered here. There's not just one design. There's people who are studying to go to the army. There are people who are studying to do hotel management. There are people who are doing engineering, so many different things. There's a big career exchange, so be ready for that if you are planning to go abroad. I have a couple of friends who are studying in Milan. I have a couple of friends living in Paris. If you're going to a country where there's a different language, then you need to be prepared to learn that language. In the different courses that you're trying to choose, you need to abroad, you get more options and more time.
I think there's some internet issues.
So
Bhuvi, can
sorry,
you-
Bhuvi, you got
Can you guys
disconnected
hear
for like a couple of seconds. Could you repeat like from like just a couple of seconds, not a lot? So could you rewind a bit? Yeah.
yeah, sure. Can you guys hear me now? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So I was talking about the courses and the eligibility and the flexibility. So someone who's not decided what they want to do, right? In India, you don't have the option where you can start your bachelor's but not decide what you've done or what you want to do. But in abroad, you get that option. You can start off as a non-major or a major not disclosed degree, which will basically be 1 year of you choosing and trying different classes and then figuring out what you want to do. People who choose that option are basically going to study the same thing that others are, but it's just that the difference of organization. Usually, if I have decide that I want to do design, then I'm gonna in my first semester I'm gonna have 2 design classes, 3 like general classes, and then next semester 3 more and blah blah blah. But the people who've not decided, they will have all their general classes in the first year so that they can finish their core subjects and then they can get time to choose what they want to do as a specification. I would say grab every opportunity, and I cannot stress this more. And that's only because all my scholarships, all my achievements, everything has come because I said yes to everything. Don't feel like you are not capable of doing anything, because you really are, and anyone can do anything. So like, remove that thing out of your mind. Oh my god, this is such a big project, I can't take it, how will I do this? Don't worry, everyone's learning. Nobody knows what they're doing, and everyone is figuring it out. So you have the time, you have the capabilities, just go for it. So next is getting experience. When you're in college, you need to prepare to graduate. After the 4 years, what are you going to do? You're going to look for a job. What do you need to get a job? Is get experience. And for this experience, it could be anything. It doesn't need, you don't need to have an internship with Google. You just need to have an internship so that you know what's the difference in school padai and actual design. I did 4 internships so far. One was with Wix. I'm not sure if you guys are, you guys know about Wix. Wix is a website building agency. There's Whiskey Design, which is a packaging and print industry. This agency does a lot of packaging of beverages. So vodka bottles, whiskey bottles. I know for some Indian parents, this is going to be hard to believe. But this is actually a career. People spend their entire lives designing whiskey bottles and vodka bottles. And if that's something that interests you, go for it. If not, that's totally fine. You might have something else as an opportunity. Doing an internship in a place like Whiskey Design doesn't mean you're going to be drunk, doesn't mean you're going to have alcohol all the time. It just means that you're going to get more knowledge about the chemicals like ethanol and methanol and all this, bullshit. Um, Next, I did an internship with Native Digital, which is a digital agency. So they do a lot of websites, they'll do a lot of videos, motion. And I think their biggest client is Virgin Mobile right now, which I don't know you guys know about, but they're doing pretty good work for them. And then the last one is VML YNR, which I'm currently doing. VML YNR is a $1.2 billion company. It's huge. They have branches everywhere in India, in like Mumbai, Bangalore, China, Singapore, United States, Antarctica, everywhere, literally everywhere. And the good thing about working with a big company is that you get hired soon, and you get sponsorship. Sponsorship is something you will need if you are an international student in a different country. There is also campus jobs that you can do. And campus jobs is something that will help you pay for your bills. Basically, all the rent, all the utilities, whatever I pay is through my campus job. And it doesn't have to be in design. You can do anything and anywhere. Organizations is also a good way to be able to get your design out. I know Manas has been, the president of, the Insights group at GEAA, or like, the alumni at GEAA. This is a good thing that you can do, is be involved in organizations, because this is going to give you an opportunity to, rip out your skills. Zada, there's no risk. ज़्यादा लोग नहीं होते हैं, ज़्यादा audience नहीं होती है. जो भी गलतियां करनी है अब कर लो. Not later when you're in a big company working for a big company. Try to do as much designing as you can now. Brush up your skills, try everything out, and then you'll be fine. I would say gain experience as much as you can, but the minimum I would do is at least get one internship before you graduate. Because when you graduate, when you're applying for a job, this is something they're going to check on your resume. Resume, LinkedIn profile, portfolio, your website, or anything, just a PDF portfolio is fine. These are a couple of things which are very important for you to have as a designer, be it at any point of your life. I had my portfolio ready before Shrishti. I had another portfolio ready before I was applying to KU. I had another portfolio ready for all the internships I'm applying for. It doesn't have to be different portfolios, but you need to update it at every point of your life. And I know it's for people who are in design already, know how painful it is to do portfolio update, like, all the time, but it's important and it's something that is very valued. So I will be graduating in 22, and hopefully all the experience that I have so far is helping me out. The point that I told you guys about gain every opportunity and pick everything that you can really helps, because when I did that, I have 7 scholarships so far. I'm almost paying less than I would in India. I have gotten a lot of trophies, not because my work is amazing, but because I was able to apply for those competitions. I thought that chance le lete hain, chalo apply kar lete hain, and then I won. That's how you need to do. Don't demotivate yourself. Don't feel like you're not doing well. I have 8 mentions which were public, and this is going to help me for my visa, because for one specific visa status, which is called an O1 status, they need to see how important you are to the country to let you stay here. So all of these efforts are going to help me when I graduate and try to get a job. Now, try to leave a mark wherever you go. And this is, a designer's advice. You as a designer, your job is to make things beautiful, but not just make it beautiful, also make it functional. Whatever you do, whatever you try to do, needs to be something that people will remember. And I'm not just talking about a logo. I'm not just talking about one interior design furniture piece, not talking about a fashion design outfit. I'm talking about you in general. When people talk to you, they should remember what your name is. They should remember what you've been doing and what your vibe is. My first slide with you guys was a very colorful, hello, big one. Why? Because that's how I am. I talk a lot. I'm very bold as a personality. I love colors. And I feel like I would want people to remember me. So I'm trying my best to do that. That's all I have for anything related to my journey and options you had. Obviously, this was very graphic design specific. There are people who want to do interior design, want to do fashion design, want to do other fields too, architecture, and all of that. The only thing different that you need to do from me is your different name of the college and name of the entrance. That's it. Everything else is going to be exactly the same. All the tips that I gave you is going to work for every field that you go to. And hopefully you guys can, learn from my experience. And if you have questions, I have my Instagram handle down there. It's called Groovy Broovy. Follow me on Instagram and ask me any questions you have. I am legit like, on Instagram 24 hours. Not a good thing, but I am. So you can message me whenever and you can, ask me questions. Don't hesitate. We're all from Gundecha. We're all from the same community and I want to help people out there. So yeah, that's all for me. On to Manas.
Okay. Arya, do you want to say something before, or should I just directly get into it?
Yeah, you can go ahead. That was quite a journey, Groovy. Love sharing such things. And yeah, that is it. You can go ahead with it, Max.
Okay. So first of all, I'll just give, oh, sorry. Okay. I'll just give a disclaimer. I have not done as much in terms of preparing this right now as Groovy just showed to all of you. But I feel like, to be honest, it's my last week at the current place that I'm interning at, and things have been hectic a bit. And I've also just shifted to my hostel. So yeah, things are a bit difficult right now in terms of how time is being managed. However, I'll try and take you best through my own journey and my own, what do you say, venture with design itself. So as I like to talk a lot. So I'm gonna talk about designing through my lenses and my journey through it. So as such, I'll begin with talking a bit about me, not a lot. So I'm Manas, as you all have already figured out, and I'm 20 years, and I have been designing for about six and a half years now. And obviously, at the start when I was designing, I wouldn't really call that good work. It was really, really bad work. But I feel that is part and parcel of being a designer, that every 2 years, when not even every 3 months, when you look back at a 3-month-old project, you'll be like, yaar, ye kya karke rakha hai? So that's going to be a process. I feel, at least it's been for me. And I like to talk, like I said. So I am a very talkative person. In most cases, I will make a do with okayish work by talking enough about it, and by talking good enough, or like talking properly about it. Apart from that, I mean, I love MacBook Pro, so I just thought of putting it in. If you are looking for designing and want a device recommendation, I'll any day say go buy the M1 Mac. Don't even look for another device, but that's my recommendation. I'm biased towards it. I'm a massive anime fan. Like, I'm an anime fan to the point wherein nowadays I can't see live action movies and series because they don't interest me as much anymore. And I'm a big foodie. I'm really sorry the images got pixelated. I sort of put this through a little late, but I'm a massive foodie. So I'll talk about my journey, and I'll begin my journey a little early. So for me, I don't know many of y'all, but at least the people who will be in 7th and 8th, I guess, or later than that, would probably know Jayanti ma'am. And so my mom has been an art teacher. Yeah, she's been teaching for about 20 years now. And being an art teacher's kid comes with a lot of pressure when it comes to art as a concept. Because one, since childhood, your first, what do you say, first mark of what is good artwork, the bar is too high. As a kid, when I would draw a cat and then I would look at my mom teaching kids draw a cat, I could see that, oh shit, I am looking at something which I can never achieve. So for me, art as a concept, the story with that began very badly. I didn't like art for a long time until certain incidences in my personal life led me to try art out. And that's how art started. And even then, I was never really serious about art as a career until eighth grade. Something happened, and my mom left school, and she decided to start her own venture. Now she decided to start her own venture. Obviously, it comes with a lot of things that need to be prepared. You need your logos, you need your stationery, you need to create websites, all of these random things. And being the sort of technical whiz, as they would say, which I am not, but in terms of in my parents' eyes, I would be one. I decided, okay, I'll do it. And that's how I started designing. I remember having a really poor, like you get one of those uh, 20K laptops of HP, which have like a 4 GB RAM, really poor processor, and downloading bootleg versions of Photoshop and InDesign and designing everything on it, trying to figure my way through the softwares, using YouTube a lot to find out how things are done. And as I kept doing those things, I realized that, you know what, this is something that I can do. And this is something that I enjoy. And that is how my tryst with, what do you say, design began. And from there, it had just been an upward, what do you say, line. Like I passed my 10th and I was like, okay, this is it. We're going to get into design as a career. But I still didn't know the nuances of design or how design worked until it 12th came along and I gave my entrances. So my goal for my college, to be honest, was IDC in Bombay. But the college as such is a very cruel college when you look at from a seats perspective. You get 15 seats and more than 10 to 12,000 people apply for it. So it is really hard, but luckily, like for me, UC it still turned out to be a good factor because I came 403rd in terms of my ranking. And I was lucky because right after my batch, they began with adding drawing to the entire exam. I like drawing, but there are a lot of people who are better than me at drawing. So yeah, that worked out for me when it comes to the ranking. And with the 403 rank, I'm still not sure where to go because there's a lot of questions in the hanging. Like obviously, I had the obvious options in place. I had Symbiosis, I had Shrishti, I had what do you say, a few colleges in like slightly lesser known colleges. I had this college in Dehradun. What is its name?
UPSC, something like
UPES.
that.
UPES, yeah.
UPS, yeah.
Yeah, so there were a few colleges, and then one day I got an email from Anant National University telling me that given my UC rank, I can be I'm eligible for 100% scholarship. And I researched about the college. There was another college actually, WUD in Delhi, which was also offering me a 75% scholarship. And I decided that this is it. It's going to be one of these two. Because for me, I like that I can be a lazy person very often. So I always like to keep a pin over my head. And that pin over my head helps me work. It can be deadlines, it can be, so for me it was the scholarship and the requirements the scholarship bring with it. So every scholarship required me to have a 2.8 CGPA. Okay. And that requirement for the CGPA I knew would motivate me to not give up on my course midway through. So I went to both these places, and here is what I'll tell you, right? Like obviously I would recommend if you can get into an IDC or an NIT, go for it. But otherwise, when you're joining colleges, don't just look at, where are your friends going or what is, more expensive or what seems to be the most professional university. Try to understand your personality and how it ties in with the university's personality and their ethos. Because Anand is such is, I enjoy Anand as a college a lot. Many of my batchmates, they do not enjoy it as much. Because Anand is a new university. It was established 10 years ago. Design started over here 4 years ago. I am the second batch in interaction design, the specialization that I have taken. It works really well for me because I am a person who likes to bring new thoughts to any place I go to. I'm a person who likes to change things to leave my mark and to sort of be in the center of everything that is happening. And a new university really helps me do that, right? So understand the place that you go to, understand their ethos and decide accordingly. It's not just about the rankings they have, the reviews they have, because a lot of these rankings and reviews and all these mechanisms can be fabricated. But when you go to a place and you talk to the people there, you realize the ethos and the values that the university will have, and that'll help you select better. And upon when I came to Anand, and since then, like it's been a great journey for me. I took up interaction design. My logic, interaction design is what, like Rui mentioned before, UI UX. That's what interaction design is, essentially designing for digital interfaces, designing interactions between humans and products via the medium, mainly via the medium of a digital interface. So for me, the reason I took interaction design was largely because I got bored of graphic design. I always like trying new things. And like I said, since 8th grade, I was doing graphic design. That's about 4 years of graphic design. And I was like, okay, I want to try something new. And the most interesting course that came up was interaction design because it brought my love for using my phone and digital interfaces, plus my love for finding out new technologies, plus my love for designing all together into this one single subject. And I was like, okay, this is it. And that's why I came into interaction design. And since then, like one of the things that I have always been striving for is independence. I love to be independent in the sense that I don't like people telling me what to do. And I realized that one of the best ways to ensure that people don't tell you what to do is you own your own money. This might not be true for everyone. Take this with a pinch of salt. You like don't make this a life goal. It might not work out for you. It might work out for you as well. So that's why I started finding work. And luckily for me, I have been a very vocal person and I have developed, I did a lot of MUNs, I did a lot of public events, due to which I developed a very big circle that knew that I could design. And because of that, I started freelancing a lot. Apart from that, apart from freelancing, I took up a lot of, internships. Like I have interned at various places. Recently, I was interning at a studio. Like Ruby said, when you intern at different places, it's not just a work experience. Like work experience is there. For me, I feel one of the things that I would like to put out here is that I don't want to do a job. I want to start my own studio and I want to do that really badly. That's something that if I could do it now, I would do it. And I realized that to become a good designer, you need to realize what kind of a designer you are. And to realize what kind of a designer you are is a lifelong journey. And it only becomes faster when you interact with other designers and understand how they work. And the best way to do that is to go into these internships, is to go into these places where they design extensively. Like now I was interning at a studio in Pune called Ideal of Design Studio. It's a very big design studio. They have clientele, including ICICI Bank. I did a project for them, which is like creating a video on Yes Bank for their Family Day campaign. And so Ideal of Studio is a very big studio. And like when I went there, I learned about how they worked. I learned about how you can, what was the style they followed. Like because it was a very relaxed and chilled out corporate structure. It was not, like, acha, ye time pe aana hai, anything like that. So try working for different people, not just because it pays you, and not just because it's in addition to your list of your in your CV. Do it because you interact with new designers and you learn how they design. And now at this point, I am in my third year. Like my third year just started, and I have another 2, like this year and the next year, to finish off my work. And at this point, honestly, there are a lot of career paths open to me. One of the most, sought out one for me would be to start my own studio, like as mentioned. And if you can, like, if you are able to build a contact base of freelance work, if you're able to build that sort of connections, go for it. Because at this point today, what I have started doing is, I'm able to do this at this point, is that many times when I get a project, I do not actually do the project myself. Instead, I delegate it to others. And that's where I'm at in terms of my professional side of things. And that's what led me to realize that at this point, I want to get into design strategy as a career, which is another option you all can have. Design strategy is essentially leading and managing design teams, wherein you do not actually get into the depths of designing each and every element, each and every design, each and every screen that's out there. Instead, you manage people, and you manage people in the sense you understand whose strength is what, where all do they need to improve. You need to be able to critique design well. You need to be able to understand what works, what doesn't work. And yeah, so that's where I'm at in terms of my journey. uh, I do not have a lot of my current work to show, because much of the work that I've done was at my previous internship. And unfortunately, so the way it works is that they made me sign an NDA. So I can't disclose a lot of it since the clients haven't made it live yet. So these are a few old projects, and I've not put a lot of it. So uh, I'll show very few things, and they won't be the best of what I can do. But yeah, these are some posters I designed in the first year of my college. Uh, Basically exploring sort of blacks and whites, exploring colors, exploring contexts. Because if you've read about Richard Feynman, you'll know that he had this entire theory revolving around chess and the chessboard, which sort of led me to try out the chessboard effect in the background. And this is something that we recently worked on for a class project, and I'm pretty proud of it. So I'll just take you through understanding how UI UX is. So we had to design an application, and the application was majorly around, like, we created something around gaming, and it'll just show you a few things that we sort of created to get to that process. Like, this is what you would call a user persona, because interaction design delves into UI UX side of things, wherein UX is a lot about understanding your client, your user, how they're going to be working, how they're going to react to whatever you put out to them. These are some of the wireframes, like the initial designs, the initial structures that we created, that okay, this is probably something how we want our interface to look in a very rough format. And this is how the final sort of, the actual mock-up was that we created. uh Lastly, I just like to touch upon my ideology as a designer. I love design, but I don't love design from the perspective of I like to create things, but rather I love design from the ideology that design is about problem solving. I see design in every aspect of my life. Uh, when I'm reading about politics, I look at politics via a lens of design as well. When I go to my faculty telling them that, okay, that probably the lunch that we have is not working out, and since many students are eating badly, outside, I look at it as a design problem. I look at everything as a design problem in my life, because every problem can be solved via good design. And that's my ideology. It takes it up a bit of a notch. You don't need to do that. You can just be happy with creating graphics and amazing graphics. And that is an amazing way to deal with things. And that's an amazing way to, separate your work life and your personal life. I suck at that. But yeah, that's where my ideology lies. And yeah, that's about where I like to end it. That this is what I am as a designer. This is who I am. And obviously, this is subject to change, because one thing you must know as a designer is that you cannot be something that's carved into stone. You have to be like water, if I may say so, wherein you change with time, you sort of adapt your behavior with time and how the world around you changes. The way I would design something in 2000s cannot work today. And today, in a rapidly changing world, the way I design today will probably not work 3 weeks down the line. And I have to be prepared for that as a designer. And only when you're prepared for that as a designer are you going to be, you know, a decent designer at least. I won't call myself a good designer, but I'll say I am decent at least. So yeah, I'll be happy with that for myself.
Thank you so much, Manas, for sharing your journey. Moving on, as you can see in the chat box, a lot of people are asking about, top colleges in India, bachelors, and I've made a few lists out here. You guys can see it. Here we have some top colleges in India that offer BDes or MDes. At first, of course, we have NID, National Institute of Design, and National Institute of Fashion Technology, that will be NIFT. We've got Srishti School of Art, Design and Technology. We've got Anand National University. We've got IIT and MIT. And these are the entrance exams for BDes. So NID and pretty much most of the colleges have their own entrance exams. So NID has their own entrance exam. So has NIFT. UC is for IIT, MIT, DAT. Srishti has their own entrance exam, and so has Anand. That is pretty much it about the colleges that are there.
Just one thing. One
yeah,
addition,
sure.
because since I am from Anand, if you
sure.
have given UCED, you can get into Anand via UCED as well, because UCED has tie-ups with many colleges. So just when you give UCED, check their website, you'll see their tie-ups, and many of the colleges, then you don't have to give 2 entrances to get into the same college. That's it.
Yeah, thank you. Also, yeah,
I'd like to add, so if you do NID, UCED, and Shrishti Prep, you will be prepared for all of the exams that are all there. Because these cover basically all the modules, all the courses, everything that one would ask in prep. And I'll give you a basic idea of what you need to really be able to do for an entrance. First is be able to draw, have a good ability to sketch. I wouldn't say you need to be Picasso, but you need to be at least, at a level where people can understand that you've made a cat or a dog. Second, you need to have visualization skills. And this is basically because you'll have questions like, if you have 7 chopsticks, how will you divide it into 24 or something? You will get these weird questions, and you need to be prepared for that. A little knowledge about math. You won't be able to use a calculator, but you'll have to do a couple of calculations about the area of a room, or how many meters of cloth do you need for to cover a box or whatever. So a couple of things you need to do and calculate. So math is important. And the next thing that I would say is to have a good sense of color. You will have to color things, you will have to name things that could be a different color. You will have to suggest things with a good color. You would also be asked questions like, if you mix burnt sienna and cobalt blue, what would you get? I had that question in my exam. So you need to have a good idea about colors, and try to do as much as hands-on as you can. Use paints, use oil pastels, ruin your house, tell mama sorry sab ganda ho gaya, don't care, but you have to try that out. And definitely get used to holding pencils and charcoal and materials and all of that, because you'll have to do that in design college. I wouldn't say that will be too much in a digital course, which is a UI UX course or a motion design course, because in that your best friend's going to be a laptop. But for other courses, for industrial design, for product design, for fashion design, for some part of graphic design, this will be important to be able to work with materials. So try to be prepared for that, so that things are not jumping at you when you're in college. And I'm guessing, Arya, we want to go to the question and answer session now.
We'll go ahead with that. Before that, I would like to add on to what Dhruvi said. To prepare for these exams, you have a lot of options. Online, right now everything is online only, but you have classes like Silica, and you also have RT Melange. Along with that, you can also find courses online as well. We've got Design X Studio, and we've got Kafal Studio as well. You can check them out on YouTube. They've got pretty much a lot of things covered to prepare for these exams. And yeah, so we open the floor for questions, and you guys are open to raise your hand and unmute and then ask, or just type it out in the chat box.
Basically, you can raise your hand if you have a question. What we'll do is, I
Yeah.
think we'll go through the questions that are there in the chat box. And I think you
Yes.
have certain questions that you had listed down as well, right?
Yes, we have a few
So I think we
questions.
can run through those first, and then we can do like all the remaining questions, keep it aside, and then you can like raise your hand and we'll let you unmute yourself and you can ask it in person. Just
Yeah.
add the interactivity, I feel.
Also, Manas, I think you've mentioned a couple of answers for the questions in the chat box. One question that I wasn't able to answer yet was, would product or industrial design help me in interior design? So product design is going to be you trying to make a chair, or trying to make a sofa, whatever. Industrial design is going to be also somewhat like that, where you're going to work with materials and work with all of that. Interior design is totally different. Interior design is where you're going to visualize how a room's going to look. Maybe the knowledge is going to help you in a way that you'll know what kind of material of a chair can I place in some corner or whatever. But I would say interior design is more closer to architecture than it is to industrial design. And there was another question on the top which said, if I want to do interior design, should I directly take the course or should I go through architecture? I would suggest, because these fields, if you choose your specification very early, you're going to be stuck to that. So I would suggest to do a broader thing when you're in your bachelor's, because that gives you more opportunities and more options once you graduate to get a job. If you do a course of interior design, then you'll get a job only as a interior designer when you graduate. But if you do a course in architecture, then you can do a master's in the interior design, product design, industrial design, so many other options. And you can get those many jobs. Everyone knows, this is a known fact, the design industry is getting filled up very fast. Everyone wants to do design now. So you need to keep your options open so that you give your employers the opportunity to hire you for different skills too, not just one. Obviously someone's going to hire you if you have 3 skills instead of someone who has 1 skill. So I would definitely try to go somewhere which is more broader, that gives you more opportunities. Another question.
Just one thing though is there that architecture comes with its own set of annoyances, because architecture is a lot more technical than your first of all, interior design is not going to be offered in most places, because now we call it space design. Because
even
space
urban
design becomes a lot more, what do you say, inclusive. I think inclusive is a better word. So you can get into space design, and the thing is, if you're thinking about going into architecture and then going and doing a master's in degrees, it is a viable method to go through it. Just be aware that architecture is going to be a lot of technical work, so be prepared for it, because first of all, if you're giving your exams, like if you'll have to give NATA, you'll have to prepare a bit more on the math side of things. And you'll have to be prepared to actually, when you go into things, there'll be a lot of drafting, there'll be a lot of site visits, there'll be a lot of understanding minute, percentages, mathematics, and those things are going to be important. And unfortunately, so universities to a great extent still are going to force you to go through the entire manual labor phase, even though we have technologies that pretty much do everything for you. But just try and balance these things out. There's going to be a lot of factors and you have to balance it out according to you. Like Ruby said, obviously having a wider skill set available to you is going to be beneficial to you. At the same time, look at it from the perspective that is it like a bite that you can chew or not, and then decide according to that.
Soham has a question.
Yeah, so we can go ahead and mute yourself and ask.
Yeah, I'll just let him unmute himself. Just give me a second.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Soham.
Yeah, I'm having a doubt regarding that the number of exams and which exams we have to give for going into the line of like interior designing and also architecture. Like I want to go in both of them. is like in today's generation, will these two degrees cope up together?
So first of all, architecture and interior design साथ में तो तुम नहीं कर पाओगे कहीं पे. Like at once, you'll have to do architecture and then go into interior as in your masters, or you can do a bachelor's again. But then I wouldn't suggest having two bachelors, one in architecture and one in interior, like in space design. As for exams for architecture, standardized exam है India के throughout नाटा देना पड़ेगा तुम्हें. When it comes to interior design, it's going to depend on which college are you looking at. So look at what college courses you want, and accordingly you will decide, you'll understand which entrance exams you need to go. But like Dhruvi said, if you prepare for like NID, IDC and Srishti, and like NID and IDC, to be honest, Srishti also follows relatively the NID pattern. You will be prepared for most of the colleges, and you'll be prepared to apply for those. And look into what college you want to get into, you'll accordingly understand. So yeah.
Yeah.
We have another question in the chat box, I think.
Yeah, I was just going to answer that. Okay, so the question is, can we do a course in animation and VFX in the private institute like Arena Medium Multimedia? Are these private institute degrees valid and accepted? Okay, I'll give you a basic truth. Anyone who is trying to hire you is going to see what your degree is going to see where you've graduated from. This is very true in India, not very true in abroad, because in abroad people look at your portfolio, not your resume that much. But if you're planning to do in India, then I would definitely say try to get a degree from a good college. Courses like Arena Multimedia, and there was some other, I don't remember the name, but there are a lot of these options. 2 years ago, we used to go for that options because they would give you an online option. Now everything's online, so you don't really need to go for that option. You can get a normal traditional college and be able to do the same course that these people are offering. Places like Shrishti and ID, these big universities, they're going to give you more options, and they will also have a proper degree. So I would suggest, this is my personal suggestion, to go through those universities instead of Arena Multimedia, also because of the experience that these colleges have. Places like, these Arena Multimedia and all of these would be great. They would have amazing teachers, but they might not have that kind of social standing that the market would have right now for other colleges.
Another thing, yeah. So a few other things to that is that while Arena and all, first of all, like the thing is that if you look at their education structure, it's going to be more software oriented than design thinking oriented. Okay, so these courses are going to help you understand how to use a software more than how to visualize as a designer. And that's the biggest difference. See, software kaisa hai na? I'll give you an example. So my dad he works as a development officer at LIC, and he hires agents who basically do the policy setting. And one of his agents is this guy who is a commercial artist who back in like 70s and 80s used to work at Parle G, and he used to paint, and he had painted like the little girl ka photo and all. And when computers came in, he did not adapt to the computer age. He did not, he didn't try to learn it. And very soon he is no longer able to pursue that as a career. So as a designer, when you learn something which is very software oriented, your software can become obsolete in a year or a two. However, when you learn through a course that is design thinking oriented, you will learn, like even if 100 softwares come and go, the thinking doesn't change. You got to adapt to a new software, and that is very easily possible. And the other thing that you need to understand is, in design college ना तुम्हें software सिखाएंगे ही नहीं. मतलब software थोड़ा फार सिखा देंगे, but majority of software, if you want to learn, you'll have to do it on your own. That's going to be the reality of the world. And I'll suggest going to YouTube and learning has, like, at least for me, I have always learned it by YouTube. You can do all these courses on Coursera, on I don't know, and whatever other software platforms exist. But yeah, that's something you need to take into consideration, that these are certain problems that you will face if you do the Arena wala thing, although it is still a very technically advanced course for that software.
There's another question in the chat, and then we go to the people who are raising their hands. I think Tanishi, and then Ria, and then Soham. We'll go in
Even
that
so,
order.
yeah.
So the question in the chat is, what do you think about self-learned UX and UI designers? Now, self-learned UX and UI designers, first off, what is a positive point about them is that they're self-motivated. They're trying to do it themselves. They will look into everything, do as much research as you like and everything. They'll have a good knowledge about the software because they're going through YouTube. They've learned all the skills, they've learned all the hacks and tips and whatever. So I feel like you have the base knowledge. If you're a self-learned UX UI designer, you have the base knowledge for sure. I would suggest to do, if you don't want to do a complete college degree, then you should at least try to do a course that is online, because when you're learning to do UI UX, it's not just about learning how to do it. It's learning how should you do it, and the rules that you need to apply. What in the market is acceptable right now? What is the psychology behind making one button this big and that small? The colors you need to use. There's a lot of color theory. There are a lot of things that you need to learn. So, good going if you're doing it yourself, but I would suggest to do at least one course, or at least speak to one professional, or do something that they can give you an idea about what the market is really like, because then you'll have practical knowledge plus book knowledge. Right now you just have book knowledge. If you're self-learned, you need to have a little more practical knowledge. Tanishi, can we unmute Tanishi so that she can ask her question?
Yeah, just give me a second. Yeah.
Yeah, hi. I love this session so far. Gave me a greater insight into designing as whole. So I wanted to ask that what's the demand for graphic designers, and if I pursue communication designing, app designing, web designing, or anything on those lines, what will a day in my
What will your
Day in a life be like?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to take it up? You take it up. Then I'll add whatever I have to add to it.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, the first question about what's the need of graphic designers in the market. I would say that think about it in this way. This is either a bakery or a factory for civil engineers or whatever. Everyone will need a logo. Everyone will need a business card. Everyone's going to need a website. Everyone's going to need some pamphlet or something, whatever. So there is a huge need for graphic designers, but the difference is there is a huge need of good graphic designers. In India, sadly, we see a lot of bad design around us. And so if you can be that person who can get into a field like a civil engineering field and try to make civil engineering pamphlets and posters better, you do you, bro. Like, go for it. That's something that you would really like to do, and that's something that you would benefit from. So I would say definitely, if you're thinking about being a graphic designer, the field is not dying. There's a lot more to do it. You can definitely go for it. The second question was about what would your day look like? No, the other one was UX,
Yeah.
right? What
No,
was
no.
the
What
question?
would your day look like?
Yeah.
So as a UX designer, if you are,
As a
oh
graphic
yeah, the
designer.
other thing I wanted to add was that if you have a choice between doing print design and UX design, go for UX design. If you have an interest in both, definitely go for UX design. Two things. First, everything's getting digital. There's going to be less and less need for print and more need for digital design. So that's something that will go on, and your career will be safe. Secondly, UX designers get paid more than than print designers. So if you want money, which I think everyone wants, try to go for digital. And about the day in your life, I am currently a graphic and UX and motion designer. I do all three things. But right now, if I think about only me as a UX designer, I will be working in a company where they will give me a project to design a website for a company or design an app for a company. The first maybe a month of that project will be just research, trying to do every kind of research I can about the users, about what kind of platforms they're used to using, what kind of colors that I need to use for this brand specifically so that people would want to use it. There's a lot of research that gets involved. The second part is going to be actually designing and wireframing. Wireframing is something where you're making a site map. You're deciding which page will lead to what, which button is going to click to what, blah, blah, blah. So that's going to happen. And then the last part is, making it look beautiful, making it look, user friendly, making it look inviting and, approachable and functional. In bigger companies, there are going to be 3 different people doing 3 different things. One's going to be a UX researcher, one's going to be a UI researcher, then one's going to be a UI designer, UX designer. But if you're in India right now, the situation is where if you call yourself a UX designer, then you need to be able to do all 3. So that will sort of be your life, where you will be doing these 3 things basically. Manas, you want to add something to this?
Yeah, I mean, I slightly differ on opinion on both answers, I feel, to some extent. What is the first question again? I'm really sorry. Could you repeat? I'll let you unmute yourself again. Could you repeat the question once?
Yeah, definitely. I asked what will a day in my life look like, and what is the demand for a graphic designers and stuff.
So what I'd like to see, I think the biggest difference here is that, like I said, I look at design from a very ideological standpoint. So I would give you a very simple answer, is that good work pays well. That's how it is. So your demand for your work will depend on how good your work is, not just in terms of quality, but in all facets of work. So many times, especially because I do a lot of freelance things, I manage projects from start to end. It matters how you how you are when you're attending meetings. It matters how you interact with your clients. It matters how you present your designs. It matters how you talk about your designs. It matters how you respond to changes that are being given. It matters how you reject changes which are given to you, because many times clients don't know shit about what they're saying. They're going to give changes which are absolutely pointless. And for you to tell them that this is wrong, there is a way to do that. So it's about, how you actually create small work, how much attention to detail you put in, how is your work ethic. So if I tell you if you are my client and I tell you that tomorrow 8 p.m. you'll have the designs on your table, and tomorrow 8 p.m. you do not have the designs on the table, your opinion of me will reduce. So these are all factors that if you are able to make sure you attain properly, any field you go into in terms of design or just in general in life, you're going to shine through. So demand is more about how good you are in terms of work. And like obviously what Dhruvi says applies on top of this layer. This layer is going to be common for everything. And then obviously design is not going to die until somehow people start automating design, which I'm hoping doesn't happen anytime soon, because I have my career lying in front of me. But yeah, so we are, like she said, people need logos, people need to send out emails, they need email signatures, they need advertising campaigns, and these things pay, man. Like they pay really well when companies want to give presentations. Like a large part of one of the internships I did, a large part of my work was designing corporate presentations, and the presentations, the way I got them looked abysmal. They were just piles upon piles of text, just put into one slide, and then to sort of visualize it properly. So there's going to be demand for graphic designers. It's about how well you do it. And secondly, as far as work life goes, it matters in terms of what kind of a person are you, what kind of an organization are you working for, and what is your work ethic like. So I'm a person, at least like the place I'm working at first has project based deadlines and doesn't have timing based deadlines. I have worked in a place earlier which required me to work from 9 to 6. So if you're required at your workplace to work from 9 to 6, you'll be working from 9 to 6 and then chill all day. For me, it's project based. So if they tell me that they need something to be submitted by 10th, like by 10 p.m. tomorrow, then I'll have to ensure कि मैं 10 बजे तक खत्म करूं. I can sit at 8 o'clock and finish it off at 10 if I am good enough to do it, or I can sit now, finish it off in 2 hours, and then see the submit at 10 tomorrow. So how your day looks matters in all these factors, how fast you are, and all these things. So yeah.
I think, Tanishi, do you have another question?
Just gonna let her unmute herself.
Yeah.
Yeah, just thank you so much. Like, I definitely agree on being a good designer. Like, if you're doing something, you definitely need to excel in it. And besides that, I have one more quick question. What will be the basic skills I need to instill before becoming a graphic designer? Like, as if now I'm well versed with Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, Notion, and I'm playing with Webflow. So, like, what other softwares do I need to work with?
First thing, the mistake I made was dissociate design from softwares. Like learn softwares, but try to understand from the perspective, like the way I look at it is try to change the ideology towards designing to solve a problem, and to do that, start reading a lot. It really helps reading how like there are so many books out there by designers where they explain their ideology. Try to read those, try to talk to people who design, and when you talk to try to look at people who design, try to observe the world around you, look at billboards, look at advertising campaigns, look at bad design, good design. And when you look at these things, you build a visual bank, and you can rely on that visual bank, and that makes you a good designer. Don't focus, like learn your softwares, but make your main focus on developing design thinking, design ideology, design mechanisms, then on your software itself. Yeah, Andrew, your take, sorry.
No, you're fine. I think you pretty much answered whatever I would have said. So, I think Tanashi, that's, what Manas said. Definitely agree to that. The other question that I see on the chat is maths a requirement for designing?
Can we go with Soham because he had a question?
Yeah,
earlier.
Swam has
Yeah.
demanding to
Soham,
Yeah.
the question in the chat is from Ria, who was before Soham. That's the reason I was answering that.
Okay.
And she put her hand down. So I'm going to answer this quickly. Maths is not a requirement for courses like graphic design, UX design, product design, but it's going to be mandatory for architecture in some colleges. If you have the knowledge of maths till 10th standard, you can do all the other design courses except architecture. For architecture, they might tell you to do
They
maths
need
in
it, they need
12.
it,
Yeah,
They
they need.
need
they
it.
need it.
So you would have to do it for architecture, but not for others. Soham, can we unmute Soham so that you can
Yeah,
ask
yeah.
us?
Yeah, I was asking that like which is more in demand, architecture or like the interior designing? That's my first question. And the second one is like what exactly we need to know before getting into these fields? Like what information should be with us before we step into this outer world or school?
Okay.
And the
So
last one is, sorry to interrupt. The last one is that which exams do we need to give in or like intermediate is the one we need to give, but what should we need to give ahead in order to like not excel, but in order to be just good in what we are doing at that time.
okay, so your first question about which is more in demand, interior design or architecture. I don't think there's a correct answer for this because in every location there's going to be a different need. But from my personal experience, what I've seen is that a lot of interior designers are also people who have done architecture. So your safe bet would be to go for architecture. But if you feel like you're someone who doesn't want to do technical stuff, who doesn't want to do maths, who doesn't want to, do all of that, then you can go into interior. But I would suggest, as I said before, that going for architecture will keep your options broader. The second question that you had about what you need to do to be prepared for this, for all the exams that you need to do. I know you did intermediate. There are specific architecture, course like entrance exams, and there are specific interior design entrance exams. So you need to choose that first before you see what entrance exam you need. And what was the other question? There were three, right?
What you need before going to the whole world out. I think colleges as well.
I would say
One
because those
second.
are your two options, um, I would definitely say that try to get your sketching very neat. In both of these fields, your sketching needs to be absolutely perfect. It needs to be straight lines, clean, clean portfolio, be able to work in smaller spaces, and, be able to get cleaner environments. That is something that you definitely need to have as a skill. I mentioned a couple of like softwares for architecture in the chat. You can definitely try to learn those. And except that, I feel like a skill that you need for architecture and interior design both is visualization. On computers, on phones, you have a lot of these games, that help you visualize things better. Try to do that in your free time, play those games, so that it gives you a upper hand when you go into college, because that is something that I definitely feel like people struggle with even after their like professional architectures and professional interior designers, is that they are not able to visualize unless and until they've gone on site. And right now with COVID, you really need visualization more, because you can't go to that place. You can't go to, say for example, you're sitting in India but you're designing something in Dubai. You can't go all the way to Dubai. So you need to be able to be like visualize everything.
He's asking if you can give both the exams, both types. I think you mean for architecture and interior.
I'll just let him
Is that
unmute
what you
himself.
mean?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
asking that, like, as she said that I should go into architecture according to her, and I have no problem in maths. But uh, she said that like choose one type of field, and then only attempt for the exam. So as you said that many of your friends were in both architecture and in interior. So did like can even I go in both and just give both the exams, not simultaneously, but one after the other?
Right. So what I meant is, when I said that, two different exams, is what I meant is not giving one exam will help you get into both. Both the fields are going to have their separate exams, but that doesn't mean that you can't do it simultaneously. You can do it simultaneously too. Um, when I'm talking about the friends that have done architecture and interior design, I have a friend who did a bachelor's in architecture and then did a master's in interior design. I have also seen the people who are in interior design right now have some skills or some knowledge of architecture before they are in that field. So I feel it definitely makes you stronger and makes you a better interior designer if you have some training in architecture. But what I will suggest is, because you're so confused, you don't know what to do, study the studies, the prep for both of these exams is not going to be very different. It's going to be almost the same, somewhat around each other. Study for both, give both exams if you want, and then see what you get into. If you get into both, I would say choose architecture. If you get into one, then just go for what you get into. And definitely doing a bachelor's in architecture will give you the opportunity that somewhat, like, if you change your mind and kal ko you're like, nahi, mujhe nahi karna architecture, mujhe nahi karna interior design, I want to do something else altogether. Doing a degree in architecture is going to let you do that. But if you have a degree in interior design, you won't be able to do that. Then you will, if you want to do a master's, you will have a little smaller range of options. So you can definitely do both the exams simultaneously. The padhai is also going to be almost the same. But if you are confused, give both of them and see how it goes. We have Jigyasa as the next question.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, I'd like to ask one thing. My main field of interest lies in designing a particular given space, be it a room, office, studio, anything. So as I have a lot of time to figure out what I exactly want to do, can you just help me list down some more options related to interior or different but similar?
For sure. I will mention a couple of them, but I'll let Manas answer most of the question, because I am not very, knowledgeable about that field. But what I know about is, if you are someone who wants to visualize a space, then there's space design. There's also set design, and when I say set design, it's basically like stages and like those performance stages, and you be it IFA, be it a wedding, be it anything. There's also architecture, obviously. There's interior design. These are your 4 options. What else? I can't think of
We've
anything
got
right now.
urban design as well.
Yeah, urban design.
So,
That's another one. Manas, what do you think?
so the thing is, right, nowadays what's happening is colleges derive their own perspectives on each course and they design it around that. So you just have to research into what all colleges are offering what all things. Like you have sustainable architecture as a as a genuine design principle that's being taught. You have sustainable spaces. So you need to look into the colleges and then you'll figure out what all courses are they offering, and then accordingly you can decide. Because nowadays every college has their own take on it. Like for example, my college doesn't have UI UX, we have interaction design. Whereas some college will call it UI UX, whereas some college might call it digital interface design. So you need to, there is no one way I can answer you. I can, like what Rui listed, it's going to be the same list. So I just recommend going through different colleges and their, what do you say, documentation. And within the documentation, you'll find out what all kinds of things are they teaching you. I think I'll unmute you if you have anything to add to that.
Yes, sir. So basically, you're trying to say that I should go through the websites of different colleges to know more about their campus and like what they're offering for the particular course.
Yeah. And other thing, like I said, right, design doesn't exist in silos. So many times what you can do is you can do a different specialization altogether and apply it into, what do you say, space design. So like you could do interaction design, for example. You could learn how interactive systems work and then apply it into design interactive spaces, wherein you are designing spaces in, say, virtual settings like VR, AR softwares. And that is also what you're creating is technically a space, but it would come via an interaction design route. So find out what is the exact permutation combination of what you want to do. And the best way to understand this is going through colleges. And the other thing you can do is try and look for, so now, like for my example, my college offers a major, minor, and like my university, it's, I think it's one of the few, I think it's the only place for design in India that offers that, if I'm right, a major and a minor. Do we, did Srishti have majors and minors? No, right? No, right? Yeah.
No.
So I think Anant is the only place that's right now offering majors and minors. It is very similar to like how it is out there as well, right? How it is abroad.
Yeah, in abroad, you have a more concept of majors and minors. Right now, I'm doing a major in visual communication, which is graphic design. And I'm also doing a minor in business, so that tomorrow, if I want to open a company, I want to, have my own field or whatever, I have that business sense for it.
Yeah. So for me, for example, I'm doing a major in interaction design while I'm minoring in major graphic design. So like just sort of, I didn't want to completely leave out graphic design or whatever learnings I could get. So I took it up as a minor. There are people in my batch who are doing major in interaction and who are doing minor in product, minor in sustainable fashion, minor in, and like Anant is offering a lot of minors in different types of subjects. So if you are looking into like sort of combining design disciplines, Anant might be a good place for you, because as far as I'm aware, no other place in India is offering that. And yeah, financially also Anant is pretty
Talking about
sound.
the colleges, is it true that nowadays people are giving more preference to the people who are holding a degree from abroad, or is it just a misconception about it?
I think when it comes to design, right, wherever you go, there is going to be a balance between your portfolio and your degree and your interviews and everything. And to a large extent, your portfolio will always matter the most. Your degree might be the thing that will, make them open your file and be like, okay, chalo, inke paas degree hai, to inka go through karte hain. But your portfolio is what's gonna make them stay. Nobody really is gonna understand that, oh, you are from NID, so you must be good. But if they see your portfolio and it's not good, it doesn't make a difference. So I think focus more on your portfolio than about the college you get your degree from. If you have good work, people will want you on their teams. Yeah.
Do
we have any more?
Yeah, that's. If you guys have questions, you can put it in the chat. You can also raise your hands.
Yeah.
We can unmute you guys.
Okay. I'm assuming we have no more questions at this point then.
Hold on, Manas, give them a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aditya wants his project to be reviewed by us. Aditya, we can do that, but I don't know if everyone else would be interested in that. So I don't mind staying back after the session's over, and I can just, I can help you do that. But if someone else doesn't have any other questions, we can end the session here.
Also, I think
yeah.
the best way for that, Aditya, actually, to be honest, would be that you could just send us the link on either like our Instagrams. Groovy has put up her Instagram ID. I'll put up mine as well, and we'll just text you how it goes. Because there are a few logistics when it comes to these meetings as well for us, which we have to keep in mind. So yeah, I'll just put it down. Okay, let me just find a link as well. Oh, you just search it up. Yeah.
Do we have any other questions? If not, then we can wind it up here.
Yeah, is that it? I believe. Okay.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Really glad that you guys came here, and make sure you follow both of them and GEAAA. And yeah, I think that is it.
Okay, and last few statements as now I'll just sort of close the session down with my responsibility of being the president of the Alumni Association.
Sure.
Thanks a lot for everybody for joining in. Shortly after, we'll be sending a feedback form. Do let us know where all we could have as organizers improved, where all if you face any stop gaps that you would have liked us to cover up. And we're really glad we could host everybody who came in today. We hope that the speakers this time around, including me, helped you out in the best of the capacities, and we hope you had a good time. You may start leaving after this, and just before you start leaving, one last thing, I'd really like to thank Groovy for taking time out and coming in and joining us, especially given her situation. She is currently in the US and it's 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. That's a commitment. It's a very big thing. So thank you for joining in. Thank you for all the insights you've provided, the different perspective to design that comes across from living in a different country altogether and designing. So thanks a lot for that. Thank you for attending, and you all may start leaving. Brewy, just stay back. Arya, stay back. Yep.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. Good night.
Yeah. Good night, everyone.